Oh, hey, we're rocking and rolling. I'm just sitting here. Trusted American Mortgage wants to help you save money on your home loan. Go to trustedamerican.com. See how much they can help you save right now. Trustedamerican.com.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to another episode of Off Court All-Star Break Edition. We are getting ready for they call the baseball in the Midsummer Classic. They don't really call this other than the All-Star Break, but the Nuggets are now done until a week from tonight. He's Ruben Villalobos. I am Brandon Krisztal.
What up, everybody?
And we are going to break down where things stand with the Nuggets at the break. Now, it's not exactly in the middle of the season. That came a few weeks ago. They have 27 games after the break. And you got to look at lines of demarcation, but I appreciated Michael Malone pointing this out last night. A historic night where Jamal Murray goes nuts, has 55 points, another triple-double for Joker, but that he uses December 8th as a line of demarcation. So D-Day was December, or not D-Day, Pearl Harbor Day is December 7th, right? A day that lived in infamy?
I guess.
I think so. December 8th is their line of demarcation this year. They were 11-10 at that point. They're 25-9 since. They've won 8 in a row, including last night's 11-point win over our man Chauncey Billups and the very young but energetic Blazers. I think I like in general where the Blazers are headed. They're banged up, and they were no match for. They stuck around with good effort, missing 4 of their top players as well, including Scoot Henderson. But great way for the Nuggets to cruise into the break and not let off the gas.
I thought it was one of those games where it almost kind of reignites a little bit of like, not necessarily hope, but like trustworthiness in where these Nuggets are. And you feel good right now. If you're a Nuggets fan, you got to be feeling good.
You have to.
And you got to be feeling confident because from where, like you said before, 11, what was it? 10 and 11 and 10.
And everybody's ready to fire Malone, and they're trying to trade Jamal Murray.
Nuggets fans are going crazy. I think the Porter rumors were like circling in that time frame. But then again, this is kind of what the NBA is. Like the real games start in December, and that's why December 25th, like all the Christmas games, that's what they call it. Like this is when the real NBA season starts. And to see the Nuggets from that point on get to kind of where the level where they are right now, and all of a sudden they're in the 3rd seed. And only a half game behind Memphis, who lost yesterday. And that allowed the Nuggets to kind of make up some ground now. And all of a sudden, they're in the 3rd. They could have easily been in the 2nd seed had they not lost a couple games here and there earlier in the season. But you got to be feeling good at where they are right now. And if you're a Nuggets fan, you got to be exciting because now Jamal's playing better. And not only are the starting 5 playing a little more cohesive, you got the younger guys on the deeper bench now. Zeke Naji playing a little more confident. We had some Jalen Pickett minutes that looked really good with and without Jokic. So you're really excited for the young guys, but also now you're seeing like the fluidity of the offense of how we're so accustomed to seeing them. And we're just seeing like very confident, very energetic Nuggets team. And then you got to love it.
And confidence is an interesting word because I asked Michael Malone and then I asked Joker, and we're going to hear Joker's full interview because only a handful of us were there for that. It was in the locker room, not in the media post-game press area where they do the press conferences and we've taken you behind the curtain before. Joker will sometimes make us wait upwards of an hour and 10-15 minutes to get through his post-game routine. This was close to that time-wise, but it was in the locker room, and so only a handful of us were there. But I asked both Joker and Malone about the injuries because all year long they've been banged up here and there. A little bit, a few games about Joker where it was less about injury other than the elbow thing, more about his wife having a baby boy, but he missed those games, including 2 against Memphis. Mm-hmm. And then Jamal's nicked up with a concussion. AG's been battling his calf all year. MPJ now a little banged up. Peyton Watson, Russell Westbrook. And so it's forced other guys to have to step up. But when you have wholesale injuries like they had last night or rest, and with AG it may be rest as much as anything else, you're forced to play Jalen Pickett and Hunter Tyson more and get some Dario Saric minutes, which you may need in the playoffs. They didn't sign him to not play him. They signed him to play him. It just hasn't really worked. But when we asked, I asked Malone, asked Joker about how good that can be, he said, it's great for their confidence. And Julian Strouder getting a start. This guy that started plenty in his career in high school and in Gonzaga. He's playing in the Rising Stars game tomorrow night, by the way.
Yeah, congrats to him. That was great.
But the question I didn't ask that we need to ask going forward, does Michael Malone have confidence in those guys? It's good that they have confidence. And it did indicate, if you go watch his entire post game, and we have that posted on our YouTube channel and all of our socials, he did indicate that you could get the sense that he trusts them, that he has learned to trust these young guys more so than some coaches. And Malone's probably at the top of the list of guys that doesn't always trust a young player. So I think that's only a good thing for this year and going forward.
Yeah. It is good for both parties because, like I said before, Malone has always been very prototypical of not playing the younger guys and not giving them minutes. But being forced to do so, it almost wonder, because Malone's always going to trust his guys regardless. But I think seeing them play and being effective, I think that's going to change Malone's perspective a little bit, of giving him a little bit of flexibility in the playoffs or certain matchups or certain rounds and things like that. And moving forward, if he does need to rest players, hey, I can throw in a Zeke Naji in here. So it's giving him an opportunity now to change up the rotations a little bit and also continue playing these guys, because you never know if you're going to need them. And if you don't play them, you just keep stashing them away and then expect them to be productive, out of the blue. It's just not going to work. So I think if he continues giving these guys minutes, I think it's going to work out for everybody.
Well, and Zeke Naji is maybe the best case study because he's making good money, not great money, but you were a little surprised when they gave him a 4-year, $32 million deal. Like, the guy never plays. He's not really been healthy. They want him to be a backup center. Clearly, that's not what he really is comfortable being. They draft Deron Holmes. And it is funny watching Deron Holmes like walk out to warmups and stuff. I'm like, will this guy get to a point? I mean, he tore his Achilles in June, late June. Will he get to a point where he could actually play? I don't think he'll throw him into that fire.
So.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
But
you're too far into the season to even consider that.
You would think, unless he's just so healthy and the medicals are coming back, like, look, he can go if he feels confident. But with Zeke Naji specifically, he's existed solely on the second unit for his entire time here, just about. Because you're sitting AG and you want to go different directions, when you almost, I don't say you rarely see him with Joker, but you don't see him with Joker very often. And when he's in the starting lineup or when his rotation matches up with Joker's better, you know what you're going to get. Like, if you were going to flip-flop, and obviously Joker makes everybody better, but if you've got AG, MPJ, and Jamal or Russ out there with DeAndre Jordan or Saric stealing some of those minutes while you're resting Joker, but then Naji's in when Joker's in with the second unit, that it's going to get the best out of everybody, but that clearly is getting the best out of Zeke Naji. And so maybe that's what Malone has to look at, because we know Aaron Gordon's going to play second team center a fair amount in the playoffs, depending on the matchup. And so if you're going to use Zeke Naji, I think they want to use him. Now, when Peyton Watson's healthy, AG's healthy, maybe you're not using him as much. But that was the biggest detriment last year, was Michael Malone didn't trust those young guys on the bench. And so they're playing 8 guys, and it caught up with them. They were just way too dog tired by that 7th game of the Minnesota series. And even though they probably had a better team than Dallas in terms of the matchups, I don't think they would have had the energy to beat the Mavs if they had gotten past the T-Wolves.
Yeah. I mean, I think they definitely would have been Dallas, because Dallas plays a little bit more of a slow style. And,
maybe.
And I don't think they would have had to run up and down against Dallas. But, I mean, going back to Malone's rotations and with the young guys and everything like that, it feels like they're finally in a good spot collectively, because now, like we said before, he's had forced to play them, and now you're almost getting a better sense of unity from all levels now, from like the starting all the way to the third bench unit guys. And so it's a great high note of where the Nuggets are right now, and I think Malone is also very excited for this team as well. And I think we caught up with him yesterday in the press conference, and him and Naji spoke yesterday, and they had a lot to say about Jamal Murray, because we're gonna have to talk about Jamal Murray.
Yeah, Jamal goes for 55. We've seen some big performances from him, especially in the bubble. It was funny though, sitting there, and you and I weren't sitting together during the game because you're in a different vantage point with your camera, and I'm sitting by some of the other media members that are there without cameras. Not that we don't have cameras, but we're not shooting the game necessarily. And as I'm watching it, and he's at 40, then he gets to 42, then he's at 45 real quick because he left and came right back in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, that's odd that he only sat for 30 seconds or whatever it was. But you're like, well, if he's at 45, how much? The game never got, like 16 was as far as the gap would be. They never got to 20 and 25. So you're like, is Joker going to come back in? Then they're both back in. But he's at 45, then he's at 49 right at the start of the fourth quarter. And you're like, all right, he's going to get 50. He takes all these silly shots where he's like old school Jamal, like, I'm going to go do this myself. And they weren't falling. Like, he'll get there if they leave him in. And ultimately he does. But to see a 55-point game, Joker's had 56. I'm 46 years old. I'll be 47 in 6 weeks. David Thompson had 73 points the year I was born in 1978. Whoa. So it's been a while. But to see a guy get – this is the other question I would ask Jamal. Like, he knew and we did ask him about this post game. I said, when did you know that you were closing in on 40 and then ultimately 50? And he said at halftime he knew he had 30. Most guys go in, scorers want to score 30 every night. But nobody goes in going, I'm getting 50 tonight. No one ever – other than like their defense is terrible, I might get 50. But no one's like – their plan is to get 30. If you're a scorer, 30 is that line of demarcation. It always has been, whether you're playing high school basketball, college basketball, or in the NBA. You're thinking about 30 points a night.
Well, now Jamal's had 2 games, 250 games where he's had, one, he had no free throws. Remember that one?
Yeah.
And then this one, he only had 9 attempts. I mean, that's crazy to score 55 with only, this ain't no SGA 50 piece.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, Malone said it yesterday, was super efficient. And it was like probably one of the most efficient games he's had or he's seen as far as like a 50-point performance. Which
it was even more efficient early. Like those misses to get to 50, he was like almost 70% until those silly shots in the fourth quarter.
So fluid yesterday, and it was awesome. Chloe, play the clip of Malone and Zignaji. We want to hear what they had to say about Jamal.
Well, in the first quarter, you could see it. I mean, he was scoring at a high clip. And I got him out late in the first, knowing I was going to start him in the second, and he was just in a great rhythm. Shot looked good, and we always talk about it, man. He was just ultra aggressive tonight, and I was glad he was, because it was one of those games where you just, as a coach, obviously, you're watching one of your players have that type of a game. You're just so proud of him and happy for him, and he's been playing at a high level for us, and tonight was, his best game ever from a number standpoint.
Yeah, that was that was insane. They were talking a little trash to him last game, and they shouldn't have done that because they just made him mad. And when he's mad, there's no one in the world that can stop him. So that was special to watch.
Yeah, don't get Jamal mad.
Yeah, don't get Jamal mad. Yeah. Don't get him pissed off, because we saw playoff Jamal. I did ask him. He's on the list, if not at the very top of the list, of best players who ever played in an All-Star game. He'll not have to wait at least one more year to be an All-Star if he is. And it's got to be, I don't know how many guys have made their first All-Star game in year 10 if he were to make it next year. But we know how good he's been in the playoffs, and certainly how great he was in the run to the finals. And even last year hurt some of those huge game-winning shots. But I asked him, how much is he going to pay attention to All-Star weekend? He's like, I'll check in, see what Joker's doing, see what Julian's doing. But it's not destiny. He's not spending his Saturday night, All-Star Saturday night, watching the 3-point contest and dunk contest. He's gonna relax.
I'm sure Jamal would love to be an All-Star, but I think for him, he knows that because he's had these slow starts, it's just gonna be difficult for him to. If he has a year where he doesn't start out slow and he has a hot start and he's averaging 25 to start out the season, and he's had like a really good playoff performance the previous year, absolutely he's going to be considered for All-Star. But because he's had these like ups and downs, it's just going to be really hard for him to get an All-Star consideration. And also the point guard pool in the West is so heavy. You got these big names that are just going to obviously get the popular vote.
Luka's not even an All-Star this year, but Luka will be back in that mix.
It's going to
Steph, guys like De'Aaron Fox, obviously SGA, Ja back on the court, healthy again.
He would need to outperform them early in the season by not necessarily a wide margin, but like a close margin to even be considered on the voting blocks to get into an All-Star. So it's going to be hard for him to get one ever. And I hope he gets one at some
It
point.
feels like he's a commissioner's ad at some point if
Mhm.
someone's hurt, right? Like AD's hurt right now, and
Yeah.
they don't always add the position that they're filling, because if the next best guy, in the East, if Giannis goes down, Trae Young might be who they put in,
Mhm.
kind of thing. It's not gonna be like, oh, Giannis went down, so let's go get Julius Randle's not on the East, but let's go get another big man.
Yeah,
it's the next best player.
Yeah, the only way Jamal gets into the All-Star is if he gets a reserve role. When you said, if someone gets hurt and he's like, all right, well, Jamal is the next
you're playing good,
next
right?
best
The
thing,
commissioner
so
picks
come on
him.
in here.
But when you score 55, it's a special night, and his
Mhm.
teammates all signed the basketball that they played with. And then he was asked about how special that moment was. He brought it with him to the press conference along with his protein shake. And so here's Jamal post game talking about the basketball and the special night.
It means everything. It's not obviously I shot the ball well, but they're hunting for me to get the ball, and really rooting for me to go get it. And obviously, I've been here my whole career, so just seeing all the same faces and being in this in Denver, just making the most of the moment. And I've been here for 9 years, so like I said, it's just for me, it's just years of chemistry with those guys, and they know me, I know them, and tonight was just them looking out for me. So I know I shot the ball well, but I brought the ball up here just because I couldn't do without them, and that's why we're such a good team.
It is a team effort to get a guy 50 plus points, 60 points, 70 points. And I was thinking about, when Devin Booker did he have 73 2 years ago or something like that?
It was like 72 or something.
70, whatever. He went nuts. Kobe when he had 81. And your team has to be feeding you. They have to be running not just offense for you, but getting you good looks. You would think that you get to the line a little bit more, unless you're just going so crazy from three. But if you're doing that, I mean, it's still a big difference to get from 30 to 50. And so to get to 55 on a night where Joker still had a triple double,
We haven't even talked about him.
And CB had 20, 10, and 5.
Jeez.
Never happened in the history of the NBA where players had 50 points, a teammates had a triple double, and another teammate had 20, 10, and 5.
That's awesome. You know what this does for Jamal's confidence, and just in general, like he's got to be thinking like, you score 55. It's almost like a reminder. I am great. I am this great.
And right before the All-Star game.
Yeah, and right before. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not only a reminder to himself, but it's also like, watch out, guys. Like, I'm back. Like, watch out, because we're gonna make a little run. And I think it's a good thing for Jamal to have this type of night for himself, for the team, for the organization. It's just a reminder for everybody else. Like, hey, if this guy's playing like this, these Nuggets are dangerous.
Well, we saw the same thing in Shaq and I think Greg Anthony talked about it a couple weeks ago now, when they were on the Tuesday night broadcast on TNT and they kicked the crap out of the undermanned Mavs, but Jamal goes for 45 there. And then he talks to Shaq and those guys post game. But they were both like, look, if you get this from Jamal, knowing how great Joker is, they will be a very tough out. They will be a team to beat in the West. And I am of the mindset, and that was one thing being down at the Super Bowl. The Luka trade dominated the first couple of days. The NBA has gotten knocked off the pedestal. You mentioned Christmas being all about the NBA.
Yeah, that was rough for them.
Doesn't happen anymore. Christmas Day, there are NBA games going on, but there are 2 NFL games, and they featured 4 playoff teams. Yeah. And so the NFL, the big bully on the block, because the NBA, and I actually asked somebody with the team last night, do we know why they moved the trade deadline up? Because it used to be right after the All-Star game. And I remember one of the dumbest things ever in that exact same city I was just in New Orleans, at the All-Star game, Jason Kidd's getting traded from the Nets to the Mavericks. I want to say it's 2009, 10, whatever that year was. Jason Kidd's getting traded. And everyone knows it in the world. Jason Kidd knows it. The Nets know it. The Mavs know it. Everybody knows it. But because the deadline was the Tuesday after the All-Star game or whatever it was, they wouldn't announce it. So Jason Kidd's at the All-Star game as an East All-Star, and then doesn't even fly back to Jersey. He flies to Dallas.
Oh, whoa.
Because he was getting traded. But it was just silly news that we knew was out there. We knew the trade was essentially done. He has to go represent the East in the All-Star game. And so the NBA, for whatever reason, has pushed it up. I don't know if it's I don't know their reasoning. I'm sure there is one, and we can go find it. But when I asked somebody with the team last night, they didn't know. Nonetheless, when you have one of the silliest trades we've ever seen in Luka and AD, plus the other moves that were made, De'Aaron Fox, the NBA was what was talked about last week in New Orleans, Monday, Tuesday, and most of Wednesday. But also what was talked about was how great Joker is and how there's only a couple teams that can still really win the championship. Dallas isn't going to get there. I mean, I guess if AD gets healthy,
They've fallen off.
might be interesting if he gets if AD's healthy and he and Kyrie with the cast of characters around him, they could potentially get there. I'm not going to just write them off. They were there a year ago. No one believes in Memphis or Houston or anybody else in the West, with apologies to the Warriors, this version of the Lakers. There's 2 teams in the West that everyone believes will be here in the conference finals if they're healthy and being one of the 2 representatives. And it's from the West. It's the Thunder and it's the Nuggets, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's got to make you feel good. And when you see them rip off 8 in a row, and Jamal does that right before the All-Star break, they're going to be at All-Star talking about Jamal, and he's going to be on his couch or in the Gulf of America, as Michael Malone let us know where he was headed.
That was funny.
But you got to feel good about
Yeah,
this Nuggets team as it's all starting to come together. And Calvin Booth not overreacting and making a move.
yeah. I mean, the not making a move is smart, but also not smart.
What was
But-
the move to
but-
be made, I guess?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like the Nuggets didn't have any. One, they don't have any assets, and I think I mentioned this to you before. I think other teams were looking at this at the Nuggets team like, we don't have anything we want from you. So
Yeah, we know what MPJ is and what he isn't.
Calvin Booth actually had a press conference before, I think it was after the trade deadline ended, and I think he mentioned that he had Zeke Naji and somebody else. I can't remember who it was, but they were like dangling him on the trade block, and nobody wanted them. So, I mean, it kind of goes to show like where the Nuggets are.
There's a saying, and I'm not. This isn't to be diminishing, but right, we always hear one man's trash is another man's treasure. But sometimes one man's trash is another man's trash, and I'm not calling Zeke Naji trash.
Yeah.
But you're making a trade most times because you have someone who's such a malcontent like Jimmy Butler,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to get him out of your building. I mean, this has ended the same way for Jimmy Butler everywhere he's been. So I don't know how it's going to end with the Warriors. Maybe Draymond will punch him in the face. If
I want to see that fight. I want to see that leaked video of them.
It won't be
them two
much.
fighting.
I think Draymond, Jimmy's a lot of things. I don't know if he's the toughest dude. He did live in his car when he was in high school, so maybe
Let's stir up some beef right now between them. Let's see if we can
take care of itself. I think.
I want to see that fight.
You have that, or you have someone like De'Aaron Fox. Like, I'm not going to be here, so go make it. We saw it with Carmelo when he forced his way out of Denver. The Luka trade is the one, the outlier, because you never trade a superstar in their prime.
God, Dallas is imploding. Like the organization wise, like they're kicking fans out for mouthing Fire Nico, people holding up signs of Fire Nico, and they're
Dallas is. I'm from Dallas. It is a Cowboys town first and foremost. They love the Mavs, but it's all about the Cowboys. Cool, the Rangers won the World Series. Stars obviously competing for Stanley Cups. Mavs had Dirk forever, which was awesome. They win a title with him.
But the Mavs have been in the NBA for a long time. Like their fan base is pretty well rooted, and they're just treating their fans like trash. And I feel so bad.
It's going to come back to bite them in the ass because they're just going to end up losing fans.
Well, they got no assets for Luka. Like they only got one first round pick. They got like what 5 or something for Rudy Gobert whenever that trade happened. And it's like you get that.
De'Aaron Fox yielded a couple of first rounders plus the other people. You know, like it's unbelievable. But to bring it back to the Nuggets weren't going to go get Zach LaVine. That didn't make them markedly better because they needed more defense. They didn't need more scoring. They didn't get Brandon Ingram, who's been banged up. He goes to the Raptors. So then the only people you're looking at are guys that might get cut. And just because teams haven't cut those guys yet doesn't mean they won't.
Have you looked into the buyout market? You know who's out there?
It's still guys. It's like Bruce Brown. It's Kelly Olynyk. It's guys like that.
No one really moves the needle for the Nuggets.
No, like Markelle Fultz. I think I saw where he was signing somewhere today.
I mean, this year is one of those years you're just gonna have to let it ride out. You're gonna have to
just
just roll with
the
it.
league and a bunch of players that are being thrust into the lineup and thrust in the rotation, and that can only be a good thing come playoff time. But if Jamal's going to give you what he gave you last night, and Joker's going to be Joker, and AG's healthy, and MPJ's healthy, and Russell Westbrook understands how he fits, and CB continues on this tear, I think the way this is going, and the decision was probably made for Michael Malone, Russell Westbrook probably has to go back to the second unit because I don't think you're bringing. Not to see if he couldn't handle it, but it's clear that, and I do think Russ's minutes may be diminished in the playoffs only because you can't necessarily trust him offensively at the end of games to make the shots you need. And if he takes a bad shot, then that can end up hurting you. Now he's going to give you great effort, great defense, still super athletic.
Yeah.
But so we did catch up with Joker, only a handful of us last night. And I believe I asked the first question though, but obviously a huge, huge night for Jamal and another triple-double for Joker. Here he is in the locker room.
Nicole, you've seen Jamal have a lot of really big nights, but how special is it when he goes out and drops 55 and just one behind where you are and obviously close to where DT is, but best single game ever, regular season?
Probably scoring-wise, it's the best single, but like I said, I think he's playing really good since beginning of December. I would say half of December, so that's like 2.5 months. He's playing really good. He's decisive. He's aggressive, and tonight was just like one of the good nights.
What do you think you guys have figured out over this 8-game win streak?
I don't. We score a lot. The ball is going in. We are running in transition. We are playing for each other. I will say that.
What have you seen from Zeke since he's gotten this kind of extended opportunity last week or two?
Probably this is maybe the first time in a while that he has the opportunity to play big minutes, important minutes, and a lot of minutes. He's good, he's decisive. He's open. He's shooting. He's aggressive. He's attacking the board. He's still probably trying to kind of figure it out, but I think he's doing a really good job defensively. He's really good. So,
Well, and kind of following up on that, you guys have missed a guy here and there. You missed a couple of games, but having 4 key guys out this last little stretch, how big is that? 4 guys like Zeke and these other players that are getting extended minutes, Jalen and Hunter, for what you may need in the playoff stretch.
Yes, definitely. I think just experience important minutes, like being when the team is playing good, when teams playing bad, just to feel the moments, feel the pressure, feel the the momentum in the game. I think it's a good for experience.
I know you don't care much about all-star stuff, but are you excited for a guy like Julian to get the opportunity to kind of go out there and show what he can do?
I think he's have a lot of nights with us to show what he can do. So I think that one night is in San Francisco is not going to change who he is.
How do you balance, though, maybe not being in a hurry to be out there playing and getting that extra work versus knowing that you're one of the highest vote getters and fans want to see you and that you're out there with your peers because I know how much you like being around the other greats of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure that I'm really good for that game, but I'm happy that fans are voting for me. I'm happy, I'm appreciated, and I'm thankful. I'm just gonna go there and have fun, represent myself, my family, my home city, the Denver Nuggets organization. So I think that's what I'm doing since every time when I step on the floor.
When we asked you a few weeks ago about the votes, you were excited and all that, have you even found out what the format is? Are you aware yet, or are you going to wait till you get there to find out?
I know it's 4 teams, so I really don't know how is, but I just know it's 4 teams.
You're going to go for the MVP.
Who knows? Maybe.
Do you know who's on your team? Because your team's all international. It's Wemby, it's Giannis, and Charles Barkley's your coach, but you're 6 international players, I think, in Donovan.
That's great. That's great. I didn't know.
Always nice when we can provide info.
That's great.
To Joker. And you know what? I'm actually gonna make sure we send that video to the TNT crew tonight so that see Joker's reaction when he finds out that Chuck is his coach. But it's one of those things where he just shows up where he needs to be. The All-Star Weekend is not about Joker.
No, I love how he's like, I'm not good for that game.
It's run and gun, but we'll tell you the format real quickly. 4 teams, 3 with All-Stars, 1 coached by Shaq, 1 coached by Kenny, 1 coached by Charles Barkley. Charles happened to draft. They drafted. Charles drafted Wemby, Giannis, Joker, whoever the other SGA maybe. I can't swear that it's SGA, but it's all international players and Donovan Mitchell. He's got 6 of his 7 players. Then the other, LeBron's on one, whatever. And then the 4th team is whichever team wins the Rising Stars Challenge. And so, we caught Julian Strahler on the way out and said, hey, are you going to stick around in San Fran if you win? He's like, nope, I will be on a plane to Vegas if if we lose. I don't think he's going out there trying to lose because there's a scenario where the rising stars end up getting to the finals and potentially beating the All-Stars, which would be crazy and bad for the league. I wouldn't really think it happens, but they might play harder. And so
I do have a question though. Do you know if the Rising Stars is it only for rookies and second-year players?
Yeah, it's always
Okay.
But
so
Wemby,
CB wouldn't have qualified.
CB wouldn't qualify.
This is in his third
Peyton
year.
Watson wouldn't qualify.
Yeah.
Wemby would qualify, right? This is
That would have been cool to see CB.
But
out there.
and we have seen that over the years where guys have played in both.
Yeah.
Because they're so good, but they're an all-star in year 2.
Yeah.
But Wemby won't. I don't think he's playing.
I feel like CB needs a little more recognition. That would have been. They should extend it to like 3 years, right? Like from rookie to third year, because you are.
Maybe.
I mean, third year, you're still kind of like a rising star.
Yeah, maybe so.
They should definitely change that format.
Dunk contest. The participants aren't gonna. They're not household names.
Again,
3-point contests and the skill.
Jokic should be in the 3-point contest.
Do we know? Is there? I feel like we would have heard about it. I wanted to see a shooting contest with Steph and Caitlin Clark, and I feel like
that would be fun
because I think Caitlin Clark is as good a shooter as anything. Let's see if she's even involved.
Just put
in
her
All-Star
in
Weekend.
the All-Star
She was
game.
at the Super Bowl.
Just put her in the All-Star. Put on Put Caitlin Clark on Jokic's team. She would absolutely destroy everybody.
Fans suspect Caitlin Clark declined Steph Curry in the Ionescu rematch. So they're gonna have Sabrina Ionescu. This is fans suspecting this. Who knows? Maybe she didn't. Maybe she wants to take a break.
Hey, Sabrina gave Curry a run for his money.
And I think Caitlin Clark's a better all-around shooter. Sabrina's a
Mhm.
great shooter.
Yeah.
I think and people have pushed back at me for saying this. If you just did just straight skills shooting, just shooting, I think Caitlin Clark's as good a shooter this side of Steph as there is walking the planet.
Well, shoot, she shoots at like Steph range.
Yeah,
like
and
she's
we talk about the Steph Curry effect on basketball. Caitlin Clark is having that same effect, I think, on girls playing basketball, women's basketball. We see what it's done for the WNBA. But because she modeled her game after Steph Curry's, it is now in turn going to make all these girls model their game after her.
Yeah.
Because not everybody can play like Lisa Leslie or like Diana Taurasi. You know, there's and I get Diana's also a guard, but I'm just saying in general, or Candace Parker, who's bigger than a lot of, other female players, taller. But it's a bummer that it's not happening this year, especially in San Fran.
Yeah.
How much of the All-Star weekend, because I realized too, it's not made for us anymore. Maybe it never was. We were just younger. And so we were excited about 3-point contest, slam dunk. And I've been lucky enough to go to a bunch of them and be there in person. But like I've gotten to the point where I don't even watch it live unless it happens to be on where I am. Like it's not destination viewing for me anymore.
I think the last time I actually watched a All-Star, I think it was only the dunk contest, was the AG Zach LaVine,
which was a good one,
which was like
a great one,
the last great dunk contest.
Yeah.
And after that, they started having it just hasn't been the same since then.
I will look up the participants.
I don't know, man. I honestly don't want to watch the All-Star break anymore because it's just kind of boring. There's not a whole lot going on. There's not a whole lot of fun stuff going on. But I think I'll only watch it.
Mac McClung
if Jokic
is back.
playing.
I don't know Mac McClung's on the team right now, but Mac McClung's back. Andre Jackson Jr. Do you know what team he plays for?
I don't.
He plays for the Bucks.
Oh.
Stephon Castle. Oh, he's on the Spurs. We actually know him. And then, And then Matas Buzelis from the Bulls. Very exciting.
Yeah.
McClung's still in the G League. He's on the Osceola Magic. They feed the.
If I was Adam Silver, I'd tell like some of these stars, but like I'll give you an extra $200,000 for just be in the contest. Like we need.
They don't want it.
We need big name stars to
Anthony Edwards
take part in these
Anthony
dunk
Edwards
contests.
is making $35 million a year and is going to make $60 million on his next deal. He doesn't want to be in it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you're wrong. I wanted to see Zion in it.
Adam Silver, if you're watching this, pay your stars a little bit more money. Just tell them, hey, I'll give you an extra $200,000. Just be in the dunk contest, and you're gonna get some extra cash. Whatever. Just do it, Adam Silver. We want to see like big stars partaking in these dunk contests, and we're having like, who was it? Like I forgot the names already.
Andre Jackson Jr., Buzelis, Mac McClung. Be cool to see Mac McClung three-peat, a G Leaguer win the NBA dunk contest.
See, we don't know who these people are. Just Adam Silver, get the stars to play in the dunk contest.
This is how
that's
you
all
fix
we
it.
want. Please, that's all we want.
They don't need the money, right? They're not doing it because of the money. They're not motivated by money.
That would motivate me.
$1 million for $1 million for all
motivate me.
4 participants. $1
Let's shoot
million
some laughs right now.
$1 million entry fee for the charity of your choice.
Oh yeah,
$1 million for each of the 4 entrants.
yeah. Make it something like that.
$5 million charitable donation to the winner.
Make
so
it to a point
you can
where
get $6
they
million
have to.
for your charity.
Yeah.
If AT&T's, I mean, I don't know what AT&T's paying.
Yeah,
for,
make it to the point where they're more inclined to do it as opposed to just.
But even
getting
the
random
3-point
people to do it.
contest, even the 3-point contest, is Darius Garland an all-star this year?
Who?
Darius Garland.
Oh yeah.
So Darius Garland's an all-star. Jalen Brunson's an all-star. Cade Cunningham, Tyler Hero, Buddy Hield's not an all-star. Cameron Johnson's not an all-star. Is Dame an all-star this year?
I don't think so. I don't think he got enough votes.
And then Norman Powell, who is an all-star against the Nuggets and nobody else. That's your 3-point. You're in San Fran and Steph's not doing it.
Yeah,
he's got. I'm sure he's doing the skill. Like Steph's not going to just not be part of All-Star Saturday night. But Joker will do media availability Saturday, maybe tomorrow, whatever it is. And then we won't see him again until the game Sunday. Joker is not out and about. You'll be chilling with his friends and family, I think. But you have to feel good, and we'll kind of wrap it up here. You have to feel good about where things are with the Nuggets and use December 8th as that line of demarcation, just like Michael Malone is. With 27 games left, it seems almost impossible that they'll catch OKC. But if they firmly jump up into the second spot, and they'll play Memphis one more time, this feels like one of those years where I guess they'll only play them 3 times, not 4 times.
Weird. Okay.
I think this
is a home game, though.
It is a home game. It's the last week of the season.
In the road, I think. Right?
Yeah, well, they played those 2 games back to back.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those years, and they play the Rockets one more time. You're just not worried about the Rockets yet. The Rockets are coming, but this is not their year.
They're starting to dial it back down a little bit.
Yeah, I think they're just coming back down.
Falling
the Spurs, they're coming too. Again, not this year, but Wemby's going to continue to be a magnet. Now he's got De'Aaron Fox. I don't know if you saw this when De'Aaron Fox got traded. His wife, who's also was a college basketball player, might have even played a little professional basketball. She's from San Antonio. So that's an easy sell to keep him there.
Yeah.
And he's been in Sacramento. Sacramento's like the armpit of California, Sacramento and Fresno.
That's messed up.
San Antonio, which is not the best city in Texas.
Stinky city.
San Antonio is not the best city in Texas, but it's an hour from Austin, 2 hours from Houston, 4 hours from Dallas, and it's significantly better than Sacramento.
Yes, less smelly.
And no state income
tax.
Less
armpit smelly.
And his wife is from there. Anyway, the Spurs are anyway, these teams are coming. We'll see what the new Lakers look like down the road.
Dallas is falling.
Dallas, I mean, Kyrie and AD are both 31, 32.
Minnesota on the up and up. Sacramento, I think, is going to fall a little bit because they have an adjustment period.
Yeah.
Who else is
the Warriors? Not worried.
The Warriors
about,
are not going to make. I don't think the Warriors are going to make the play-in.
The Grizzlies, you are certainly worried about, and they could knock you out in the playoffs. I just don't think they'll rep the West.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a collision course between OKC and Denver. And if both teams are healthy and Denver's playing the right way and Jamal's giving you what he's been giving you, and their defense will certainly be better, especially on the perimeter, that they'll be right there. So you've got to feel good. And, you know, I saw on our messages that my guy, Brian, who even when he changes his screen name from his Twitter handle to Media Critic, says there's a lot of ifs there. There's no reason to think the Nuggets won't be healthy. Obviously, if there's a devastating injury, that's one thing.
Yeah.
AG's calf, fine. Like, and these are
it's
all
manageable injuries.
These are all,
right
Peyton
now,
Watson will be back. You're erring on the side of caution. So Joker has given you no indication that he won't be ready. Jamal, that was the other thing about Jamal, though, when somebody asked, like, are you feeling better? He's like, no, I'm the same.
Yeah.
We all call bullshit.
Yeah. We can see it. Like, we've seen it.
we all heard he was in the playoffs. I don't know what was going on in the Olympics. He claimed it was just...
He's trying to brush it off. That's just typical Jamal. He doesn't give you a whole lot.
Not a lot.
But we all know it. We all see it. But if you don't want to admit to it, that's totally fine.
As the biggest,
we're not going to press you on it. Just keep playing the way you've been playing, and we won't even ask about it.
As the biggest Nuggets fan that I know, just about, you and Liv are probably tied. Although you go to more games as a fan when we're not having you work. How do you feel about this Nuggets team compared to how you felt December 8th? Or even as they dropped those 3 in a row at the start of that road trip before they just won 8 in a row?
You know,
because they were 12-15, dropped 3 in a row, won 8 in a row. So what's the math on that? That's 20-6.
Yeah.
You'll take 20 wins against 6 losses. You'll take that percentage.
Well,
that's 80% winning clip.
Well, the beginning of the season was a little it was a little drastic because they just weren't scoring. That was the biggest issue early in the season. Like the Nuggets weren't scoring and their defense was all right. And so they were losing a bunch of games because they weren't scoring. And that was the biggest issue for me. And it was a little drastic. But now that they're outscoring teams, you're gotta be at a comfortable place because we know the Nuggets can play good defense and they've shown that they can dial it up whenever they need to. So earlier on, I felt like they were just kind of not necessarily cruising, but they were just trying to steady themselves a little bit. And then once they got themselves going, that's when you started seeing the runs that they had of like they had 3 losses and then they had 5 and then they had 4 and then a couple losses here. And so they just been steady. And because of that, now they find themselves in the 3rd seed, possibly, being able to jump to the 2nd seed, depending on how Memphis plays after the All-Star break. So you got to be feeling good. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm sure a lot of Nuggets fans have been feeling fantastic in this 8-game win streak. And so
it takes me back to when I was doing post game, trying to calm everybody down after they had just lost to the Bulls. And I want to say it was that Monday night. And I was doing post game live, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. One of those games that I was doing, I was like, y'all need to just calm down.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's after the T-Wolves. Either way, I felt like I was your Nuggets therapist because when you have the best player in the world and you have a bunch of good pieces around him and the best player to never be an all-star, you're going to be fine.
You're going to be fine.
And as we see now, they're totally fine. They'll end up in the set. I don't say there's no scenario. It's unlikely. I will be surprised if they're not the 2nd seed.
Yeah. You almost have to remove yourself a little bit as a Nuggets fan because
right.
Obviously, when you work in sports media, you watch every game, so you get caught up in the day-to-day, like, oh my God, they're bad and all this and that. You almost have to take back and kind of step back and look at it as a whole perspective, and you almost have to tell yourself, like you said, they're gonna be fine. They have the best player in the world, and if just those surrounding pieces are playing up to their potential, the Nuggets are gonna be just fine. And it seems like they're trending in the right direction. They're way trending in the perfect direction, and so just get healthy. Play steady, play good defense, and just continue scoring like you've been doing. And I think you're definitely going to end up in the 3rd or 2nd seed easily.
Yeah. You'll be totally fine. We will end it here. We'll be back with you next week for more off court. Liv will be back. Ruben, myself will all be here covering the Nuggets for you. But they get 8 days off from last night's game. You'll keep an eye on what's going on this weekend, and then you will be back to hit that stretch run and then make a push for the playoffs. And we got you covered all the way through here. Thanks again to Trusted American Mortgage, by the way. Go to trustedamerican.com. You can click the QR code whenever you see it pop up. Sometimes it pops up here, sometimes it doesn't. You can go to Trusted American. They will help you save on your home loan. It is located right there.
Somewhere there.
Reverse weatherman. And so they want to help you with your appraisal cost. That's about $650. You'll get a couple months if you reach a good number on your refinance, a couple months where you won't have to make a mortgage payment. And who doesn't need that as we're coming off the holidays and then looking ahead to our summer vacation plans. So go to trustedamerican.com. If you're watching us right here, you can click that QR code, scan that QR code.
Trusted American is awesome. A lot of people don't know people can refinance their homes and they're stuck with like a payment they can't afford or something, or they want to change their terms. Go to AmericanTrusted.com and see how much money they can save.
Trusted American.
Yeah. Trusted.
Too excited.
Yep. Trusted American. They're absolutely amazing. So
thank you, Chloe. Thanks everybody for watching. Brian, I was able to decode your name. That's Ruben. I'm BK. We'll catch you next week on Off Court.